Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. So welcoming each one of you for our Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we have His Grace Vanamali Govinda Prabhu, who is going to speak on this wonderful topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. So on behalf of everyone, I would like to welcome Prabhu. Prabhu, thank you so much for joining, and also thanks a lot for coming over here and then giving your association. Prabhu is very busy. There's a lot of preaching. He's not in Bangalore. Still, somehow he is now giving us his association. So thank you so much, Prabhu. And welcome to the forum. So over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, His Grace Prasanna Balram Prabhu. Very glad to hear your voice and very happy to be with the devotees once again. I'm trying to do some preaching. However, hopefully it is pleasing to the devotees and the lordships. A little struggle itself, you can tell. But yeah, trying to give my best. That is a desire of devotees to be here. I'm trying to keep coming so that some scanning happens that this fellow is in the right direction, not getting misdirected. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, today we have been given a prose 5.6.7 and 8. So we'll start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I hope my screen is visible. In case any concern with audio or video, let us know in the chat box. So since it is a prose, I'll just try to recite it as it is. This is from the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the activities of Lord Rishabhadeva. Text 7. Tasya va evam muktalingasya bhagavata rishabhasya yoga maya vasanaya deha imam jagatin abhimanabhasena shankramamanaha konkavenkakutakan dakshinakarnatakan desha यद्रच्छयापगतः कूटकाचलोपवन आस्य कृताश्म कवल उन्माद इव मुक्तमूर्धजो संविता एव विचाचार. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We can read the synonyms also. Tasya of him, Lord Rishabhadev, Hava as it were, Evam, thus Muktalingasya, who had no identification with the gross and subtle body, Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishabhasya, of Lord Rishabhadeva, Yogamaya, Vasanaya, by the accomplishment of Yogamaya, for the purpose of the Lord's pastimes, Dehaha, body, Imam, this Jagatim, earth, Abhimana Abhasena, with the apparent conception of having a body of material elements, Sankramamanaha, traveling, Konka Venka, Putakan, Konka, Venka, and Putaka, Dakshina, in South India, Karnatakan, in the province of Karnataka, Desha, all the countries, Yadrichaya, of his own accord, Upagataha, reached Kutakachala Upavane, a forest near Kutakachala, Asya, within the mouth, Krita Asma Kavalaha, having put a mouthful of stone, Unmada Eva, just like a madman, Mukta Murdhaja, having scattered hair, Asamvitaha, naked, Eva, just Vichachara, travelled. Translation and purport by no purport, only translation by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Actually, Lord Rishabhadev had no material body, but due to Yoga Maya, he considered his body material, and therefore, because he played like an ordinary human being, he gave up the mentality of identifying with it. Following this principle, he began to wander all over the world. While traveling, he came to the province of Karnataka in South India and passed through Konka, Venka, and Kutaka. He had no plan to travel this way, but he arrived near Kutakachala and entered a forest there. He placed stones within his mouth and began to wander through the forest, naked and with his hair disheveled like a madman. So, Dakshina Karnataka, very near to our place. And then we'll complete the second verse also. 5.6.8. Atha Samira Vega Viduta Venu Vikarshana Jatogra Davanalastad Vanam Alehi Hanaha Sahatena Dadaha. Atha, thereafter, Samira Vega, by the force of the wind, Viduta tossed about, Venu of the bamboos, Vikarshana, by the rubbing, Jhata, produced, Ugra, fierce, Davanalaha, of a forest fire, Tat, that, Vanam, forest near Kutakachala, Ale Lihanaha, devouring all around, Saha, with, Tena, that body, Dadaha, burned to ashes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. While he was wondering about, a wild forest fire began. This fire was caused by the friction of bamboos which were being blown by the wind. In that fire, the entire forest near Kutakachala and the body of Lord Rishabhadeva were burnt to ashes. Purport: such a forest fire can burn the external bodies of animals, but Lord Rishabhadeva was not burnt. Although he apparently seemed so, Lord Vrishabhadeva is the super soul of all living entities within the forest, and his soul is never burned by fire. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhayo Yam, the soul is never burnt by fire. Due to Lord Vrishabhadeva's presence, all the animals in the forest were also liberated from the material engagement. So here we can see the first part is that he is not identifying with the body, And the second part is that he is giving up his body, considering to be material, but which is not material. And Srila Prabhupada, although not a very elaborate purport, but he has given two lectures, different lectures on both these shlokas. I just tried to get some information and understanding from that, and also try to repeat whatever I heard in the parampara. We'll begin with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So I warmly, heartily welcome all the devotees assembled online for the morning Bhagavatam discussion. So today, from the fifth canto, the two verses which are given prominently, one theme which comes out is that the Lord's body is not material and it is quite spiritual. So we'll try to analyze this from different aspects and pastimes from the Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayana. And we'll continue this topic in a way that leads us to a discussion on spiritual outlook versus material outlook, as that becomes the root cause of offenses. Maybe it is towards the Lord or towards the devotees of the Lord. So how we can avoid that? What are the problems which lead to material outlook? And finally, what may be the possible solutions? And then some discussion on that. So that will be our flow for today. So I was hearing Srila Prabhupada's lecture where he was mentioning on the first sloka, the seventh one, that how Lord's body is not material, although it's written that he considered his body as material. But sure enough, the animals died, but Lord's body, although it appeared that it might have, he is giving it up, but it is not that. In the second verse, he mentions that. So he elaborates on the theme of Mayavadism, that it is a Mayavadi's theory that considers the Lord's body as material. And Prabhupada quotes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prakata Kariya Mane Vishnu Kalevara. aparadha nahi ara ihara upara. This is a very greatest offense to consider the body of the Lord as a material. So this is what is Mayavadi's theory, that the Lord assumes a material body when he comes in this mortal world, and he has no form. So Prabhupada often interchangeably use Mayavadism and impersonalist, although there is a little difference. Impersonalists are consider absolute truth or as a Brahma Jyoti or formless. Although yes, we also consider that in one aspect, but that is an incomplete understanding. But Mayavadis are very grossly offensive in their understanding that one can become Lord and one can become one with Lord, and the Lord's body is material when he takes, or the Daridra Narayan concept, that the dog the Narayana, the cat Narayana, which Prabhupada heavily condemns. And he goes on further in the lecture to mention that Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Hoy Sarvanash. So yes, there are quite a bit of them on YouTube also. Mayavadi scholars who are very very attractive in their speech sometimes, and also they do Srimad Bhagavata Jnana. Typically, the Srimad Bhagavat Katha, they mention it like that, even in Vrindavan also. But one has to be very careful and avoid unless he's a Vaishnava. We should never be liberal to hear anything from a person speaking on Bhagavatam also if he is not a Vaishnava, is what Prabhupada warns us. Otherwise, we are doomed, as the very service attitude will be snatched away, and that will have a very deep impression in our consciousness. And that's why Prabhupada ends up telling that Mayavadism is more dangerous than atheists also. So he mentions that they are dangerous atheists. So they don't consider the Lord's form, which is non-different. So it is very difficult to sometimes understand the dharma and the spiritual knowledge, the form, etc. Yes, if one is very simple, he reads the Acharya's books, the scriptures, and follows it as it is. But otherwise, the Vedic concepts, the Upanishads, Lord doesn't have legs, but he doesn't have material legs. We require Acharya's commentation, or we require the Lord Himself to come and explain, like how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, and he behaves in a way which is exemplary for the upcoming following descendants. When he was told Vishnu, he used to put his hands in the ear and tell no. So, although he is not Vishnu but Krishna himself, but to set an example for the upcoming people not to claim themselves as God and one with the Lord. Similarly, Lord Rishabhadeva also comes and gives the instruction on to his sons on austerity, especially, which is what our Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas have extracted principally. Although there is was might be you might have already discussed in your previous classes that a king, Arhata name, who tried to imitate Lord Rishabhadev, and then the Jainism started from there. So Prabhupada says we cannot imitate Lord Rishabhadev in this Kali Yuga, but we can just take his teachings. So the best way to understand is to have a teacher who knows the heart of the Lord, or sometimes the Lord himself is coming like that of Rishabhadev. So Lord is also known as Bhuri Karmana. His activities are wonderful because one of the aspects of this wonderful activities is not only it attracts the conditioned living entities, even a non-devotee, but also it conveys multiple things in one pastime. So here Lord Rishabhadev is, although considering this pastime of giving up his body and giving a message that ultimately this body is temporary and one should not be attracted, but one should do tapo divyam, that austerity which can help us to get Brahma Saukhyam to Anantam, the highest benefit which is not available in these 14 planetary systems. So similarly, we see that in the gambling pastime of Yudhishthir Maharaj, the Lord wants to convey that, see, even Yudhishthir Maharaj, within half an hour of span after playing gamble, he lost practically everything, although he is one of the greatest prince. In half an hour, he is not having even his own body. He's a slave. So, what are the lessons we learn? That one is that one can lose everything if one indulges in a play like a gambling, and devotees should follow the instruction till the last moment. He is being conveying that even a king is not spared, even a personality like Yudhishthir Maharaj is not spared from the ill effects of gambling in case they indulge. But yes, it was the pastime of the Lord that through Yudhishthir Maharaj he is teaching us. Hmm. And we see that time and again, we'll discuss some more pastimes that even apparently it appears that it is the pure devotees who are involved, but they are made as instruments in the form of in the hand of the Lord to convey us a lesson. So that is about uh, the pastime of Yudhishthir Maharaj. And even Prahlad, he was burnt by Holika. He was taken apparently to burn in the fire by order of Hiranyakashipu. But we saw that even Holika was burnt, but nothing happened to Prahlad. So Lord has a power that he cannot be burnt, but he can even protect his devotees to be burnt from. Similarly, Sita Maharani, the internal potency of the Lord, she could successfully survive the Agni Pariksha. And like that, we see that Lord is the personification or the essence of the fire. He is the source of the fire element itself. Hmm? How can fire burn the Lord? There is also a pastime which comes in one of the Upanishads, if I believe, that sometimes the demigods became very puffed up, and that is why one of the role Lord takes is of a Brahmana, and apparently he takes a grass, a blade of grass, and presents it to Lord Wind, the Vayu Devata, and asks him, "Can you? Who are you?" And then he tells, "Oh, you don't know I'm the in charge of the wind. Because of me, everything blows." And it is so powerful. But when he requested to blow the grass, he was not able to do in spite of so much of effort. And same thing happened with Agni Devata. He could not even burn the blade of grass. So Lord wanted to humble them. So such a Lord cannot be burnt. That who is the source and the very element of the essence of fire. So uh, sometimes the illusory power of the Lord is so high it may bewilder us unless we are not rooted and connected to our acharyas in their connection. I was hearing that one of the magicians, he was doing so great magic that literally he put himself in a box, a 4 feet closed box, and he demonstrated that the entire box was cut into two pieces from middle, and from both the sides of the box his head and his legs were being projected, and the people, the audience of thousands, were able to see. So we don't know really how they do it, at least I don't know, but they have some illusory potency which with which one may get bewildered. Even their assistants, they know or not, we don't know. But yeah, and then again after some time he uh, makes the box, approximates the two cut pieces of the box, and he comes out of the box again live. So if such an illusory thing is possible by the modern, I mean the mundane living entities, we should understand that we are conditioned souls and we can get illusioned unless we don't hear the pastimes in the Acharya Parampara, the Guru Shishya Parampara. So it is not at all difficult for the Lord to depict this, but and no question that he can get burnt. But if we hear it from the acharyas that how the Lord's body is spiritual and it can never be burnt, then we can understand how to take it. So again, the Lord, uh, yeah, he did his pastime and he went and he left the lessons to the 100 sons on austerity that will be discussed separately and requires a separate lesson. And another aspect I wanted to discuss was on motion lila. Often devotees hesitate to discuss the disappearance of the Lord, whether it is Lord Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But however, it is a very purifying thing, because one can realize the absolute nature of the Lord. That how the Lord who can lift Govardhan, uh, practically it is impossible for a material body to lift Govardhan. How can he be shot with an arrow and killed? It's impossible. And when the acharyas explain that how the atheistic people wanted to remain atheistic, and Lord also did not want to force them, so he leaves a material body and he goes in the spiritual body back to the same place from where he came, the spiritual world where we all aspire to go. So when we hear about this pastime, we our tattva knowledge, the tattva knowledge gets reinforced and it purifies us. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada's disappearance pastime, not only the Lord's pastime, but his pure devotees pastime, that when he was passing away, he was apparently just translating the purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hmm. He made an attempt to go to London, and he this shows that he was not attached to his body. His body is also spiritual, and he was not attached to Vrindavana, but he was attached to preaching and dying on the battlefield. So he was not able to cover his dhoti also in London, and when devotees were helping him, because he was almost in the bones, just the upper skin covering. And when a devotee was helping him to cover his dhoti, I mean the leg with the dhoti, which he was not able to do, Prabhupada told, "Don't think this will not happen to you. It will happen to you also." Hmm. And he was trying to teach us that how to learn. That is why it is told art of not living, but art of dying. Prabhu, the Acharya is teaching us. And that was the last Guru Puja. All devotees were quite of little bit having an idea or a feeling that probably we may not be able to participate in any other Guru Puja with Prabhupada present. So these pastimes, Prabhupada Leelamrit and the pastimes of the Lord, makes us understand that first of all, the body of pure devotees and of the Lord is not material, and we need to re-emphasize on the spiritual aspect of it with respecting, revisionizing our revising our vision towards it. So coming to the next aspect now, that how this spiritual outlook can be developed even amongst practicing devotees, and how this is the root cause of offense. When we understand that where does the offense arise from, otherwise chanting Hare Krishna and not offending devotees will take us back home to back home. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only two things required, but it starts from the material vision. So to focus on that, we see that there are many instances because of which there are offenses done, and it has apparently created a block in the progress of the devotee. To take the example of Shachi Mata, who is a pure devotee, he is the mother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How can she be subjected? But to teach us an example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was strict that, oh mother, uh, uh, that actually she didn't even think, she didn't even pronounce, but in the mind she thought that probably this Advaita Acharya is the one who will make my another son also into sannyasi. First son has already gone. So she had a little critical view towards Advaita Acharya, and that was perceived by the Lord. And irrespective of she being her mother, she was inspired that when Advaita Acharya was in ecstasy and in trance, immediately Lord saw that Sachimacha is offering obeisances, and that relieved her of her apparent offense. So this is for us to learn that such material outlook should not be carried out. And again, it comes in many other pastimes. For example, the Brihaspati, he was offended by Lord Indra because became very normal for Indra to see daily Brihaspati, his guru, coming and going, and he was busy in taking his respects from the followers and forgot to acknowledge. And this was taken as an offense by Brihaspati. Although he immediately recognized also the offense, and that was too late. By the time Brihaspati was away and he could not find him. Uh, a small mistake, and that brought about problems to Indradev. Uh, so there are many pastimes. I will not go into all how Shringi also did a mistake by seeing Parikshit Maharaj putting a snake and like that. So, how these offenses come is by a material outlook. So, we should never consider the devotees also from a material perspective. Sometimes, because we have seen and known them from the past, so the spiritual vision may not develop, and the bodily consciousness may remain, that oh, I this so and so devotee, I know he was so much struggling in the initial days, then that respect will not be maintained if he is doing well now. And the one who is taking up to spiritual path, we should neglect his past. We should never focus on his past, otherwise it will bring again the material outlook. So we have to respect the our vision. That is why the term respect, spect means vision, and re means again. Uh, uh, Once I had heard from a devotee that again and again we should actually take admission in ISKCON, because as a new devotee we are very careful in our vision, we are very careful in judging. We don't end up judging so easily. So this happens for a new devotee very easily, but a little progressing devotee few years, and he may take it for granted. And that is why this the bodily consciousness, which is very very deep rooted, that makes the devotee struggle to have a spiritual vision. And another is a fault finding tendency. So, because the fault is there in us, we also see it in others. And once a devotee was asking a senior sannyasi in ISKCON that, Maharaj, I see that sometimes the devotees are not so polite as outsiders, non devotees. What do you feel about that? Actually, devotees should be more humble, more polite. But even after years in ISKCON, some of them I'm not able to appreciate their politeness or humble behavior. And the Maharaj's reply was that, oh, what to speak of you, even I also feel the same. But then he gave a very nice perspective to it, that this impolite behavior of a devotee, which may apparently appear to be anartha or a dirt, a covering, is just a superficial covering. Uh, but deep down, when you scratch it, you will find the Krishna element, the surrender to Krishna, because he has considered Krishna as supreme. So, this is the jewel. This is what we need to highlight and focus on always. That although this devotee may have such problems, it may be our family members, it may be our ashram inmates, it may be our fellow colleagues serving with us in the same department, whom we are seeing very, very regularly, and the more we get familiarized, the more fault finding tendency increases. So it is apparently very much more important, especially with these devotees, that we respect the vision and disregard the apparently faults which are appearing very big. One devotee is telling, it is like keeping a coin in the front of our eye and trying to see how we will see. So apparently it is only the small vision which is blocking. If we just remove that one fault, then we can see, oh, wonderful association I am having with a devotee. So this fault finding tendency may sometimes become a block along with bodily consciousness and familiarity. And we see that Lord Krishna told Arjuna that the different ways one leaves his body and different destination in the 6th chapter. And but like Prabhupada explains that this is not applicable for a devotee. We see that Indra Prabhu also left his body apparently in a gas leakage and fire accident. So some devotees, they leave that body, and one may think, oh, this is the ultimate destination. Then why should I be a devotee? Why was there a no peaceful death for a devotee? So this is external vision again. It's a material outlook. What is a consciousness? We don't know. So that has to be emphasized. And hearing such pastimes of Lord Rishabhdev, Prahlad Maharaj, And also another solution part, how to emphasize on our spiritual vision, is maintaining etiquettes. Mm, uh, this maintaining etiquettes I have learned over a period of time, that initially we take little casually our dealings with devotees, but when we maintain etiquettes, and it's very imperative, uh, slowly with the guidance and mercy of devotees I am trying to follow, but I struggled a lot in my initial days. And but once we do that, even though we may not be feeling like, it can draw a lot of guard on we tending to offend the other devotees, even if the tendency is there. And a strict sadhana, morning program, and deity worship will also help us to overcome this materialistic vision, and appeal the greatness of the Lord and the devotees. So pastimes, that is why the creation pastime, before we go to the sweetness pastime of the Lord, helps us to understand what and whom we are worshipping. Mm. The strict sadhana is not only just एक लेक्चर हो गया आज का, और बुक रीडिंग हो गया, आधा घंटा कोटा is completed. But if we are feeling that we are going through this problem, specifically taking out such sections which describes the glory and the spiritual aspect of the Lord, or pure devotees, speaking up those pastimes and emphasizing on that, because that is what is the disease which we may carry. So like this specific sadhana can help us come out. And lastly, I wanted to just share about the gratitude. Prabhupada mentions in one of the purport that the practicing sadhaka should look back before coming to Krishna consciousness, what he was and what he is now. So this gratitude will also help us to remain in a spiritual vision, which I see many of them, they do carry it. I am very grateful to have an association of so many such devotees in ICC, that they are very grateful of whatever they have received, and they, even though they are having a good amount of responsibilities, but they very humbly carry it out. And when we talk, we understand that how much gratitude they are carrying for their spiritual master, for Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON as a society. So that attitude of gratitude can really make us humble, and keep our spiritual vision intact. So these were some of the thoughts. In essence, we just try to revise what we discussed today. We started with the vision, understanding of Prabhupada's quoting of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that we should not consider the body of the Lord as material, which itself is a Mayavadi theory, and how we require the intervention of acharyas, or sometimes the Lord himself has to come to explain what his pastimes are, and what is the theory, what is the philosophy of the complex Vedas. Otherwise, one tends to misunderstand. So, Lord comes in form of incarnations like Lord Rishabdev to teach us. And Lord is a Bhuri Karmana. With one activity, he conveys many multiple lessons. So, one lesson with Lord Rishabdev is that he is conveying that this body is temporary. One should not be attached to the body and focus on austerity, which gives us spiritual uh, benefits which are not available in this material world. And uh, that how one should not be claiming oneself to be the Lord, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also was covering his ears when Vishnu was being claimed he is Vishnu. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj pastime of gambling, that how he was apparently ruined, even though maybe pure devotee. We heard the story of a magician, that how the illusory potency can sometimes cover our vision, even of mundane people like magicians. Then so we should be very careful and understanding by tattva, that Krishna is the source of the fire, he is the essence of fire, and there can be no way that it can burn the body of the Lord. And yeah, one more thing I forgot to share was Lord Parikshit Maharaj pastime also. that it is said that Parikshit Maharaj was burnt by the Brahmastra. Okay, my video is somehow off. We'll try to open it again if possible. Anyway, I hope my audio is clear. So, Parikshit Maharaj was circumambulated by the Lord and protected from the attack of the Brahmastra. It is said that his body completely burnt into ashes and Lord revived him in one aspect. Another say that okay, it was protected directly and the Brahmastra, but generally Brahmastra does its job. So it turned the body into ashes, but Lord revived it back. So this is another way we can understand that how the pure devotees and the Lord are aloof from the effect of the fire. And uh, we also discuss about motion lila, that is the passing away of the Lord. Also teaches us many lessons, understanding the absolute truth of the Lord, tattvata, and which is very purifying. Although it may not be sometimes very relishable for devotees, but nevertheless, when it is understood in the line of acharyas, it is very helpful for spiritual progress. And we also heard about Srila Prabhupada's last days as a pure devotee. When we hear those pastimes, that how he's aloof from the body and not at all attached to the material vision, but focused on serving Guru even till the last moments and giving instructions that how it will come to you also. So he was not hesitating or just retiring, but still preaching and setting an example for his disciples. And then we focused on spiritual versus material outlook, wherein we considered the material outlook as a root cause for our offenses, and how to overcome that we tried to discuss. So in that we discussed the pastime of Sachimata. We tried to discuss the pastimes of Indra and Brihaspati, and we also uh, discussed about what are the Parikshit Maharaj and Shringi. And then what can be the possible factors which may be leading is one of the bodily consciousness. Second is our familiarity. So we need to respect it. And thirdly, fault finding tendency. So we discussed about Aindra Prabhu and one of the uh, devotees asking one of the Maharajas about how to see faults in the devotees. So he gave the example of explanation of just a superficial covering, and the deep content of surrendering to Krishna is what should be highlighted. So this can help us to come out of our material vision, and hearing such pastimes, specifically maintaining etiquettes and strict sadhana with cultivating of gratitude can really help us to come out in case we feel that that is one of the obstacle for us. So I pause here. I humbly request you for any corrections in case required, or some discussions or reflections. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
So that was very wonderful. I think there's some echo coming. I don't know why.
Still it is coming?
No, not with you. When I'm speaking, I could hear my own words being repeated. Yours was fine. There was nothing wrong with when you were talking. Okay, so Prabhu, now it seems okay. All right, so thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. So nicely you explained how the Lord's body is not material, with reference to Rishabh Dev. And then you also said how it is the greatest offense to consider the Lord's body as material, which is also tying up to the Mayavad philosophy. So because they carry this view that the Lord, when he incarnates, then he incarnates taking a physical, material body. So Srila Prabhupada says we'll have to be careful and avoid such views or even such Mayavadi views. So we should not even associate with them. So you brought out that aspect. And also how it is more dangerous than associating with an atheist. Association of Mayavads is more dangerous than associating with an atheist. then the Lord himself, how he is, his activities are so wonderful. And then we saw examples of not only the avatars of the Lord, but also the potencies of the Lord, like Sita Mata, and then even up to the devotees of Lord, like Prahlad Maharaj, who are all protected from the material, like burning of fire, all that. It doesn't touch them. So this is an aspect how material things don't affect them at all. But they are just going through all of this to teach us a lesson and then set an example of how we should conduct ourselves in this world when we are here. So,
And Lord protects them. Lord protected Prahlad, and Lord is always there with the internal potency. So that aspect also we can highlight, that if he can protect others, then what about himself? He can surely protect himself. That was also one aspect.
yes, Prabhu. So in this way, we need to be very clear about the spiritual outlook, how we need to develop that, and then suppress the material outlook which keeps coming up, because that's our nature. It always keeps coming up. So that we could do by reconnecting ourselves. So you brought out the point of respect. So where the aspect of maintaining the etiquettes, the respect, and not getting into this uh, tendency of fault finding or getting too familiar with the seniors, with the guru especially. So this way, then because this actually the material outlook is the cause for most or almost all of the aparads that we make. So just to ensure that we avoid that, we'll have to keep ourselves in the spiritual outlook rather than in the material outlook. So, and then of course you nicely covered this up, brought out this point by giving so many examples. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for these points. I hope I covered anything. Anything else that I've not missed, you can add. I mean, which I have missed, you can add to.
Wonderful, wonderful. Almost very nicely covered almost all the points. Very attentively and very carefully you noted it. Thank you. You can take some reflections or any comments from other devotees if there are some time there.
Yes, Prabhu. So, devotees, if there are any comments or reflections, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Vanamali Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dhanvat Pranam, Sankarshan Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for very nice class, Prabhuji. I think I have one comment and one question and one comment, Prabhuji. So you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada is using the word Mayavadi and impersonalist interchangingly. So Mayavadis, we know, Prabhuji, as you mentioned, they are very, very gross offenders. Impersonalist, I also hear somewhere that they are translated as Brahmavadis, who are not as offensive as Mayavadis because they accept the authority of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they just see him as a absolute truth, who is Brahman or Brahma Jyoti. So I also hear that there were Brahmavadis, then they become devotees and they quote our Sukadeva Goswami, and then four Kumaras. They were actually in the impersonal platform or Brahmavadis, and then when they got the association of devotees of the Lord, then they become personalist. Prabhuji, the question I have is, Prabhuji, is it anywhere mentioned in Prabhupada's purport or anywhere, Prabhuji, about this aspect of four Kumaras and Sukadeva Goswami being impersonalist and then becoming a personalist later?
Yes, as far as I remember, it is there mentioned in the Bhagavatam itself, that how they were impersonalist, and not only that, the Sukadeva Goswami, actually by the arrangement of Vyasadeva, he is heard about the Putana pastime, Ahobakiyam Stanakalukutam,
Yes.
and the sweetness of the Lord, which turns him around. So that was the recently which I heard. So it is there in the purport. One example I can hear, I can immediately shloka I can remember is the first, second, I think, the second or the third shloka of first canto itself. Nigama Kalpataru. I'll just try to see if I can immediately share. And that aspect is, it is not mentioned Shukadev Goswami, but it is mentioned that even impersonalists get attracted to them. And in that, I think Prabhupada writes in the purport, what are the examples? I'll just share it, but 100% it is there in Bhagavatam itself, referring to Shukadev Goswami. And regarding the Char Kumaras, I don't know whether there is a shloka, but surely it again comes in Bhagavatam in one of the purport. I don't remember the exact verse number and purport, but I'll try to share with you if as soon as I get, maybe after the class, I'll need to search it.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. And
Yes,
one
yes.
comment you mentioned about converting the material vision to spiritual vision is sticking to our adhering to our basic sadhana. I think many times I wonder why our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, they kept on emphasizing the basics again and again. If I hear my spiritual master's class, other spiritual master's class, they kept on hammering this point. So,
Yeah.
but when you mentioned today, I was able to connect what is the reason behind that and why they are actually practically hammering on this point. You will not have any spiritual progress if you don't, follow your basic this morning program. So, thank you, Prabhuji. It was a very nice class.
Thank you, Shankar Shankar. Hare Krishna. All glories to our parampara.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Balaji Govind Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam. Humble obeisances.
It was a very wonderful morning class, Prabhu. Thank you so much. You have wonderfully explained, highlighted how the austerity is and attitude of gratitude and how a Vaishnava should be. All these things have been very nicely explained, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Balaji Govind Prabhu, I get inspired by his humility. I still remember his class when he was giving, actually he was sitting below and all the audience were sitting on the chair. So he is, and in spite of many troubles and all, he continued very nicely for a long time, the Kannada classes. And I believe even now also he gives occasionally. Thank you, Balaji Govind Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So, devotees, any other questions? So I had one small question. Is there a difference with respect to Mayavadis and impersonalists? Are they same in all respect, or is there a difference?
Yeah, as we understand from Prabhupada, and that Mayavadis, they consider Lord and the Jivatma as one. They consider that currently we are in the material body, but by doing sadhana, one day we will also become God, and everybody of us will become God. The God has taken a body of a dog currently, temporarily, but and that is why he has become Daridra Narayana, and which was very taken offensively by our acharyas, and it is very offensive to consider like that. So that is what Mayavadism is, considering Lord and one as same, but temporarily there is difference, that the Lord has come and taken this form. So not only the incarnations, they consider even the Jivatmas as one to be the same of the Lord, and that is why I tell everything is one, and this Brahma, Satya, Jagat, Mithya, they are from the that point of view that one day we will become and merge in the Lord's. Everybody will become one. So that is Mayavadism, considering Lord and Jivatma one, and Lord coming here and doing such pastimes as temporary and mundane, and the body also as material. Whereas the impersonalists, they think, the Lord is different from the Jivatmas, but he is only a light, a Brahma Jyoti. He doesn't have a form like us, because he has expanded into all of us. His original form is now no more there. because their conception is that this form itself is the trouble. So these are common in both. The Mayavadi also think that material form is the root cause of the problem, and even the impersonalists also feel the same. But the difference is that they consider one to be merging, whereas impersonalists think that the Brahma Jyoti is the ultimate thing, and we, after finishing our sadhana, we can merge and get rid of birth, death, old age, and disease, which is moksha. And that's how they remain a little different. So, because for a Vaishnava aspect, both are not including the aspect of service. And that is why Prabhupada ends up using both as one sometimes. Because for us, both are as good as to be rejected and committing suicide, to merge in Brahman also. And what to speak of Mayavadism.
Yes,
Does
Prabhu.
it?
Yes, Prabhu, I think it is making a lot of sense, because there's a very thin line, I think, dividing the two, the way it is to be understood. And in one way, I think, I don't know if it's correct to assume that impersonalism can lead to Mayavad kind of a degradation.
Yes. Yes.
If it's not taken in a positive way, like how the four Kumaras or even Sukadeva Goswami came over to the other side. So, I mean, they were safe.
Yes, yes. So it is said that those who are Mayavadis, they go very, very deep, dark into hellish conditions. In Bhagavad Gita also, Prabhupada mentions. So that the chance of Mayavadi progressing and coming back to bhakti is so very rare, and it requires really a mercy of the pure devotee to get him back on track. And impersonalist also is condemned very heavily, because there he can be casted permanently unless Lord Shiva goes and does some Sankirtana in the Brahma Jyoti, where he may supposed to reclaim some of the souls. Or generally what Prabhupada tells, because they have gone to a Brahma Jyoti where they cannot express their desires, they will fall down. Patatyada. I think the second canto, one of the verses mentions that. I forget the exact shloka. Aruchya krichena padam.
Yes. Yes,
That one which tells that it will fall. So this is one, there is a debatable thing also about origin of the jiva. But it is very clearly written by Srila Prabhupada that our origin is Golok only, the spiritual world. It is not Brahma Jyoti, and one cannot remain in Brahma Jyoti for a long time. So either he may come down to material world and get into karmic jnani cycle, and worst, he may become a Mayavadi also. That depends. But it's a suicide for a devotee, whether we consider Mayavad or impersonalism. So difficult to tell. Based on the association and surrounding they may be either elevated higher or they may fall down. As positively we see, Shukadeva Goswami and Char Kumaras got elevated precisely by the good association, but it can go the other way also.
Yes, Prabhu. So thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So if there aren't any
almost
more questions, yeah.
Yes.
So we can end today's session. So thank you once again, Prabhu, for your association.
Thank you.
We could end with Vaishnava pranams. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitana pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Rishabdev ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat pranams to all. So I'll end the session for everybody. We'll meet up tomorrow again. Hare